Hello, everyone. Welcome to Clarity 16.0.2 Support Training. My name is Dave Sprague, and in this session, we're going to be covering the investment management updates. So, what's new? I'll cover three features in this session. First being the configurable investment timeline view that is now available for projects, ideas, and custom investments. Secondly, the project task module has been updated with the ability to include sub-projects within a master project task list view using a new action menu option. And thirdly, the task duration is now an editable field within the task timeline, grid, and flyout views. Previously, that task duration was only editable when you were in the classic Gantt view. There's still the ability to edit the task duration in the PPM Gantt, so users over there are not impacted. I'm just pointing out that we've now added the ability to make that it is an editable field now in the modern UX. So why is this important? So as you can see, each of these features are being introduced due to the customer innovation process. We're really excited to have a vibrant customer community collaborating with us so closely. So let's start with the investment timeline view. So the investment timeline view assists with investment execution, where if you think about the roadmap timeline view, that really assists with investment planning. So sponsors and program managers can see real-time investment schedules without having to do the extra step to drill into the details, for example, or do any background syncing. The inclusion of sub-projects in a master project brings that added visibility for those sub-projects alongside the functionality that you have in the form of a Gantt, improve functions for handling multiple assignments, dependencies, and scheduling. Our users are no longer dependent on the PPM Gantt, Open Workbench, or third-party tools, and potentially competing web-based products. The ability to edit the duration in the modern UX, kind of in the context of managing project schedules, project managers are far more efficient because they simply modify a task duration instead of having to figure out task start and finish dates. So what's changed? So as you can see here, the investment timeline view is there. This is an example of a collection of projects, and it gives you that view into the investment execution. Investment data can be edited within that configurable grid on the left or the flyout if it's open. The investment bars can be moved horizontally to start or adjust end dates. Widgets can be added to the graphic to graphically view the investment data. So widgets and view option settings for fiscal periods and start and end period are shared across the timeline, board, and grid as the user maneuvers through those different views. As you can see, there's a color by. There's a number of attributes that can be used to add visualization or add some colorization to the investment bars themselves. The task module for projects has been enhanced with the ability to include sub-projects. Sub-projects can be included in a master project task list view using this new action menu option. Sub-projects can be positioned anywhere in the grid. Dependency lines can be drawn between sub-projects and master projects as an example. Users with the proper permission can add new tasks to sub-projects. So essentially, with this added visibility of sub-projects, plus all the robust functionality there with the Gantt view, the improved functions for handling multiple assignments, dependencies, scheduling, users no longer are dependent on potentially the PPM Gantt, Open Workbench, or third-party tools. From the grid view, you can simply include the is sub-project field for added visibility when you're working and handling a lot of data. You have that view now. And Lastly, the task duration field is now an editable field within the task timeline, including the grid and the flyout views. Task duration was only editable previously in the classic Gantt functionality, but now you have it right here in the context of the modern UX. So when you update that task duration field, the finish date is updated automatically. You can also update it in bulk. So if both finish and duration are updated using bulk edit, that duration field will be the one that is used. And in some cases, task duration can't be modified because of the kind of internal business rules, such as committed actuals, etc., or other actuals. So let's take a look at the demo. We're going to look at that investment timeline view. We'll take a look at how to include sub-projects within the task timeline view. And lastly, we'll update that task duration field from the task timeline view. All right, so let's go to the demo. Okay, you can see I've landed here on the projects list view. So in addition to the board and the grid that were previously there, now we have our timeline view. So I just have a number of investments. I've applied a certain number of filters to get down to a reasonable set for me to look at. And I've got now the kind of the start and end dates associated with that. From the configuration perspective, I can add my start column, close. And I can move that over to the left, so it kind of helps me review certain bits of information. I can edit things directly from the grid. I can add a new add Cheryl as the manager. Now, when I do move certain things, I can move certain things around here to kind of reposition my investments from an execution standpoint, but there's going to be some logic that kicks in, and I can accelerate it, but in this case, the end date remained the same. So just be aware of that. Also from the list of ideas, I also have that same view. I can have widgets positioned in there if I want. I can bring up my legend to see the work status relationship there. From a custom investment standpoint, I can go into a listing here and also likewise see a visual of my investments. And there's not a lot of as much logic from a project standpoint that's associated with custom investment types. So you can see from a execution standpoint, you can just move things around quite easily. All right, so let's go back to the project view and we'll dive into a particular investment, the ARD payments module. We'll select the tasks module. And you can see we're on our timeline view at the test level. I have this positioned for months at the moment. But the key thing I want to point out here is this new menu item for adding sub-projects. I'll go ahead and select that. It brings me to a list view to pick from, and I'll just pick one. Bring that in, and you can see a unique icon associated with the payment API work as a sub-project now within this master project. I can reposition this sub-project down here. You can see I can expand and collapse them. I can draw dependency lines. So I'll just grab something from the master project and tie that into my API, reviewing the API requirements tab. You can see the dependency line has been put in there that gives me an indication that there's some important things to consider there. I can actually, if I have the users with the proper permissions, can also insert tasks directly within the sub project from here. You can see I can adjust the start and end date of a particular task. I'll go ahead and I can edit that task field too directly from the duration field, right? We talked about that. I'll just change that to a 10-day, and you can see the impact it has. It just shrunk the task timeline here. And of course, on a duration, from a duration perspective, I can look at my travel assignment there. I'll change that to 15 days, and you can see the impact immediately that it has, adjusting the duration without having to muck around with or try and figure out start and end dates. You can just manipulate the duration field there. If I go to my grid view, I have duration field here too. I can edit that now, but it's not in the context of that visual. So it can certainly be edited here, but the visual there on the timeline gives you much more context of how it impacts in relation to other things. One thing I wanted to point out is there's a new um, value that can be included called is subproject. And when this refreshes, you'll see that this particular project that where is a subproject. So you get that added visibility there. All right, so let me return back out to my project timeline view. And this will be a good segue to now jump into things that you need to be aware of. All right, so that concludes the investment update section for today. Thank you very much.